Hey everybody, Adam Davidson, RadCast. It's Tuesday, January 21st, 2020. Let's jump into Luke chapter 16. Jesus is speaking and he says, "Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much, and whoever is dishonest with very little will also be dishonest with much. So, if you have not been trustworthy in handling worldly wealth, who will trust you with true riches? And if you have not been trustworthy with someone else's property, who will give you property of your own?" So, pause for just a second. First of all, the reason that money is on my mind for RadCast is because we're doing a series at Renovation Church about life, based on the board game Life. Remember that game with the and the cars and the little plastic buildings and the jingle for Life, the board game? Remember, it went like this. You can be a winner at the game of... If you said life, you're correct. That's 200 points. So we're doing this series, and we're talking about money, and we're actually talking about other things too, like prayer and fasting and forgiveness and worry and generosity. But really, Jesus is onto something about us. He knows that money has a great power over our hearts. And so when Jesus talks about, being trustworthy with our money, he's not just sort of giving us a credit rating. He's really looking at how do we consider the resources that God has given us. God has given us so much. Everything we have is from him, and everything we have is his. And so our lives are really just an investment back into the kingdom. See yesterday's RadCast. That being said, when Jesus talks about watching our practices, he really is. He really wants to see, will Adam be trustworthy with what I've given him, or is he going to squander it away? And if he's going to do that with a little that I've given him, I'm certainly not going to give him more. Not like we're trying to jump through hoops to try to get God's favor, but he really is sort of watching how we live. It turns out it does matter how we live. It's not just about escaping to heaven. So anyway, that's life in the kingdom. But this is really what we want to get to today. Jesus says this in verse 13. No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. He says this to us, and you know that it stings because we really do love money. He's calling me out. He's calling all of us out to some degree, unless we've been completely set free, and hopefully you have. Now, Luke is really, really gracious about this because he tells us how the crowd, at least part of the crowd, responded when Jesus said that thing about money. The Pharisees, verse 14, the Pharisees who loved money heard all this and were sneering at Jesus. I like that word. And Jesus said to them, "Listen, you're the ones who justify yourselves in the eyes of others, but God knows your hearts. What people value highly is detestable in God's sight." Following Jesus means that our values are rearranged, our priorities are shifted, and the things we love are the things he loves. Go and value the things of Jesus and invest in his kingdom today.